Hello and welcome to Rockstar Manager. I'm Dr. K, the management professor, and this episode is about three major concepts: comprehension, memory, and learning. First, please subscribe to my channel by hitting the subscribe button down below and also hit the notifications button so you'll see each time I post a new video. First, let's talk about comprehension. According to Babin Harris, consumers can't realize value without the ability to assign meaning to the things consumed. More specifically, comprehension refers to the interpretation or understanding a consumer develops about some intended stimulus based on the way meaning is assigned. One example is the reaction a potential consumer has when they see a sticker such as "assembly required." There are three factors that affect consumer comprehension. 1. Characteristics of the message. 2. Characteristics of the receiver. And 3. Characteristics of the communication environment. When we talk about characteristics of the message, we're talking about color, font, intensity, number, spacing, shape, and so forth. Colors can get your attention and impact mood, and yet they impact comprehension as well. For example, gold usually signals quality, while blue is associated with both higher quality and price expectations. Warmer colors, such as red and orange, get your attention, but also they may signify lower quality. Think about the sale signs. They're usually in red. Green is usually used to signify fresh produce, financial books, and environmental friendly products or services. Fonts can send meaningful indicators. The same brand representing its name in big block lettering that changes to a soft, feminine-looking script changes the feel of the brand. As a result, fonts can play a big role ensuring brand continuity. Numbers offer brands the opportunity to have an alphanumeric name, such as 7-Up or A1 steak sauce. They also offer marketing opportunities for new versions of the product, such as iPhone 1, iPhone 2, etc. All of these factors play a role in message congruity, which is the extent to which a message is internally consistent and fits the surrounding environment. The consumer should feel that both the message and the brand that's sending is matched by the colors, the fonts, the people it selects to represent their organization, and so forth. Other factors to consider are the language used to promote the product or service, as well as the source of the message. Meaning, is that spokesperson likable? Is there something attractive about him or her? Is this person an expert in the area, or do you consider why they were chosen? Is he or she trustworthy? Are all these factors in alignment with one another? On the other side of the communication diagram is the receiver of the message. One side is the sender, the other is the receiver. Various considerations can be made regarding intelligence, ability, prior knowledge, level of involvement, expectations, familiarity, and habitation. And habitation is when you're constantly or continuously exposed to a given stimulus. It affects your comprehension of and response to that stimulus. Other examples include physical limitations and brain dominance, which is when we talk about those who are left-brained and when we talk about those who are right-brained. From a consumer behavior perspective, right-brain dominant consumers tend to be visual processors and tend to favor image for communication, whereas left-brain dominant consumers deal better with verbal processing or words. The last component we'll talk about regarding comprehension are the environmental characteristics: information intensity, framing, message media, construal level theory, and timing. Information intensity is the magic amount of information that you share with the consumer that isn't too much to the point that they're overloaded, or too little that they forget the situation ever even happened. Framing is how an idea is presented and often can feel like its meaning changes depending on who is in the room. In fact, the prospect theory hypothesizes that the way something is framed changes your perspective. Let me give you an example. Take sunscreen and examine these two statements. Statement 1. You'll likely get skin cancer if you don't use sunscreen. Statement 2. Using sunscreen helps avoid skin cancer. Here, the former statement presents a negative spin, whereas the latter presents a positive spin. According to Babin Harris, consumers make a point to avoid negatively framed information, but are encouraged to take a chance on the product. Message media plays an important role in consumer comprehension. When it comes to intentional learning, studies suggest consumers comprehend more and better when reading something that is printed rather than reading in digital form, like on your computer or mobile device. The last two components we'll talk about regarding consumer comprehension are the construal level theory and timing. Timing plays a key role in how well and how much you consume information. What if you see something important but you're driving, so you only have a split second to figure out what something means? Also, consider the time of day. Some days are packed, and by the time you sit down after dinner, you just can't consume any new information. At the end of the day, timing matters. Finally, let's talk about the construal level theory. When you construe, you think about something differently. This theory takes into account how you process or think about something, whether you're using an abstract or concrete mindset. The more concrete the mindset, the more likely the concept is in time and distance. Now let's talk about memory. Memory is the psychological process by which knowledge is recorded. It's how we remember things. There's something called multiple store theory of memory that states that there are 3 different storage areas to recall information in the brain: sensory, workbench, and long-term. Sensory memory is something we all experience. It's when we store what we encounter with one of our 5 senses. Remember the smell of your Nona sauce in our kitchen when you were growing up? The roar of a crowd during a championship game? Or how you felt the day you got married? Sensory memory has unlimited capacity and uses a variety of distinctive methods. When you can visualize an exact scene, that's called iconic storage. When you can remember an exact sound, that's called echoic storage. Now, think about something you saw or that you heard and think about how it made you feel. That's your haptic perception. Workbench memory is your working memory, where information is stored and encoded for placement in the long-term memory and eventually retrieved for future use. This type of memory actively works with long-term memory. When we transfer from workbench memory to long-term memory, that process is called encoding. When we use information recalled from our long-term memory, we go into retrieval process. Now let's talk about 4 different mental processes: repetition, dual coding, meaningful encoding, and chunking. Repetition is simply repeating the same thought multiple times. Dual coding is when we can recall a taste, smell, visual, touch, and or hear something from the same event. We can recall multiple senses. Meaningful encoding is when we have prior knowledge or experience that we use to relate new information. The last of the 4 mental processes is chunking. Chunking is when we take independent stimuli and group it to make it meaningful. It would be like asking you to remember these 12 numbers: 1, 4, 9, 2, 1, 7, 7, 6, 1, 9, 4, and 5. It's a lot easier to remember 1492, 1776, and 1945. That's chunking. If we change gears a little bit and look at associative networks, we see that knowledge in long-term memory is stored in this way. Consumers' knowledge for a brand or product is contained in a schema, which is a portion of an associative network that represents a specific entity, ultimately providing it with meaning. You can have both brand and product schemas. An exemplar is a concept with a schema that is the single best representative of some category. For example, potato chips may be the exemplar in the snack food category, or Taylor Swift would be the exemplar of a female pop star. Hopefully you have a better understanding of comprehension, memory, and learning. If you're interested in learning more about related managerial topics, you can find my book, Rockstar Manager from Theory to Practice, Build a Rockstar Business if you want to start a new business, or read Cengage's Consumer Behavior 9th edition. Thanks for your time. Be your best you and be a rockstar manager.